What's going on, everybody? Exceptional Gabe here, back with another edition of Exceptionally Animated. And today I've got probably one of my all time favorite voice actresses and a close friend of mine. Please welcome the wonderful Nika Futterman. Thank you for joining us today.
Wow. I am so happy to finally be joining you. It's crazy life, and we've been trying to do this forever. And so I'm just really happy that we finally have a moment of quiet that we
I
could hook
know.
up and yap.
Before we jump into the animation side of things, one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is how did you get involved with the song Pretty Fly for a White Guy by The Offspring?
Let's see if I can remember all the way back then. Well, I was a youngster back then, and basically, I can't remember. I think it was through my voiceover life. I don't think it was because at the time I was also trying to be a rock star. So I can't remember if I actually got hooked up through a music friend or if it was through my voiceover life. But I pretty much remember someone, whoever it was, coming to me and saying that they wanted somebody who could sing background on a song and kind of be like Rosie Perez. And back at the time, I just moved from New York, and I was like, well, you know what? Everybody I grew up with sounded like Rosie Perez. It was like New York City is like all like Puerto Rican and everything. Everybody talks like Rosie, right? And I was like, yeah, of course I could do that. No problem. And so I had no idea what I was going to do. They were just like, oh, yeah, this band, just come and hang out and chill with us and do this fun song. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went to go meet these dudes. I had no idea who the Offspring was. Like, I wasn't like, it wasn't my music. And, I didn't listen to them. So I didn't even know who they were. So I hung out with them all night. We had so much fun. And they're like, we just messed around and they're like, okay, this is what we want you to do. So I was like, all right, cool. I hung out, we chilled, we did it. It was me, another Czech, them, and like, oops, my dogs are in the background. Sorry about that. Someone's probably walking into my house. And I just did it, and literally, I had no idea how big it was going to be. And I remember thinking, "Oh, that was so much fun. Those guys were so sweet." And I never even looked up like who they were or anything. Like I never even the first time like I realized it was a big song was when I heard it on the radio, and I was like, oh, cool. Like I literally, and to this day, like people are like, I mean, it was a huge song. I would go everywhere in the world. I would travel all over, and it was like, oh, there it is. And I was like, that's really funny. I did not realize that they were a big band.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Because when I found out, because my sister did it at karaoke one time, and she looked up the song, and when I saw your name on the credits, I was blown away.
That's hysterical. Yeah. It's like one of those funny, little secret things that people always bring up. And I'm like, yeah, man, that was fun.
Next question I'm going to ask: what was your first ever voiceover role?
My first ever. Oh, I know what it was. It was Hey Arnold.
Oh, as
I'm
Olga.
pretty sure it was I'm pretty sure it was Hey Arnold because that is like when I had signed on with this manager, and the first thing she wanted to do was get me into voiceover. And she's like, listen, I got this friend who's auditioning people for this part in this show on this Nickelodeon show. Well, I was a big animation watcher, and so I had no idea, what I was doing. I don't think I'd ever even like watched anything on Nickelodeon. I don't even know. I and so I went to audition for this part, and it was for Olga and Hey Arnold, and it was literally I didn't even have a voiceover agent yet. I just signed on with this manager, and she was friends with the casting person. And the casting person was like, I'm looking for somebody for this particular part. So my manager at the time said, let's go audition. And I booked the role. And then like a few weeks later, it was like literally right at the beginning of my voiceover career because I was a regular actress back then. And I didn't even know that people could, make a living as a voiceover person. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't, like I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Because I thought the trajectory of my life was going to be, I really thought when I was young, I was like, all I could think about was that I wanted to be Gilda Radner in Saturday Night Live. That's what I wanted. That was like my what I thought the trajectory of my life was going to be. And so when I came out to LA, that was the plan. It was like either Saturday Night Live or Mad TV, and that's how I met my manager. Was in a comedy audition, and so I was already doing like characters. I just didn't know that people made a living doing those characters just with voice, and
Yeah.
so that was like the beginning of it. She's like, you should do voiceover. And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds fun.
So, looking back at Hey Arnold, that was a very sad situation because, as you know, Helga's family was very toxic.
Mhm.
Olga always got all the attention from the parents, and Helga was kind of neglected, and it was very sad.
Totally. That's why Helga like just really did not like her sister. And Olga just loved Helga and wanted her to know, you're just my baby sister. I love you. Like, I just love you so much. And Helga was like, "Mm." And the thing is that like we always used to laugh because we had this like sort of like secret backstory about the whole Pataki family, that we used to laugh about. I was like, oh yeah, you know, mom and dad both are big drinkers, and like, that, because mom always sounded like she was like drinking and Maurice LaMarche, who played dad, was just like awesome. And so we used to like how we make up these funny stories about the whole family. And poor Helga was just like the most normal of everybody. So she
Yeah,
was just annoyed by her family. Poor thing.
I know. Anyway, I think the next show you did around that time, you moved on to do Mike Lou and Og, which is a very
Yes.
underrated cartoon in my opinion.
That was like, again, that was a big thing for me because yeah, that was pretty soon after. And it was, my first lead in a show. And it was for me, it's still to this day one of my favorite shows that I've ever done because I had just moved from New York. I was kind of felt like a fish out of water. I felt like I was on an island. I didn't understand LA. I was like, this is so weird for me. I was such a New York kid. I mean, I grew up in New York, New York City in the 70s, and it was like my life. I never thought I would live anywhere else. And definitely not Los Angeles. So it was like, I related to this kid who like gets stuck on this island with all these like weird creatures, and I was like, what. So for me, it was like this like perfect way to start my voiceover career, really, you know. And I mean, I did it with Dee Bradley Baker and Nancy Cartwright, and they were amazing. The whole Corey Burton. I mean, the whole cast it was just like such incredible voiceover people. So to be able to sort of start the beginning of my career with those people, like it was just like, a total education.
Yeah. And it must have been,
And it was
like,
Klasky Chupo, so what an incredible
but
company.
okay, well, here, I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna blow your mind.
Yeah.
So, that show, the animation style, the company, it was actually done by a different company, not Klasky Chupo. However, they did it very similar to their style because I believe one of the creators of the show previous worked on like Rugrats and Alvin
Yes.
Monsters. Yeah.
Yes.
So very interesting. But I was gonna say it must have been, just at the time, like just it probably blew you away working with Nancy Cartwright, who was Bart Simpson.
Yeah, it did blow me away. I mean, like, listen, the thing is this is like what's so great about voiceover and like the world of voiceover is like everybody is super normal. It's mostly just a bunch of nerds having fun.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it was so different, the vibe, than doing like on camera acting where everybody's like too cool for school, or you hang out in your trailers and you just like do your thing, and you're always like competing against other people because there's only so many parts. In voiceover, it was a completely different thing. So like, you know I didn't, at the time, I mean, it was so long ago. It was the beginning of The Simpsons. I didn't watch any animation, so I didn't even realize how big that was. So it wasn't like I was like, oh my God, Nancy Cart, like we were just normal people hanging out. Me, because it was really, sort of the beginning of her being a voiceover star too. So she was just another regular person, and so was Dee, and so was I. So we were just like hanging out, having fun, like no big deal. It was more that I think in the beginning of my career, all the incredible voiceover people that I work with were so talented and so sharing of their talent that when you were in a room, nobody was trying to like outdo each other. We were all just trying to share the fun, which is a
Yeah.
very different vibe sometimes than the on camera community.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
another question I had for you: why do you think Mike, Lou, and Og did not last very long? Do you have a theory?
Well, the truth is this is that besides things like, shows like The Simpsons and stuff, which were on prime time, if you were on an animated series, mostly like back in the 90s or any time, if you were on a show that lasted more than 2 seasons, that was incredible. Most shows, if you think about it, like, unless they were like massive, massive hits, and this is before social media and stuff, there was no way to kind of like spread the word. So I really feel like Michael and Og was one of those kind of like sleeper hits that if it had been on at a different time would have had a longer run. But it was also just this like quirky, weird show um, that was just sort of like real. It didn't it didn't have like magic in it or anything that would have kept it going. I mean, I don't know. Like people always try. Like I feel like it could come back now and it would be amazing. But the truth is that I think that most shows, like up until, let's say for me, probably like the Loud House, every show I'd ever been on was only 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I like what you just said there. Like, for example, I feel like we made the comparison to Classic Cheaper. I feel like if maybe it was on Nickelodeon, it would have had a better chance back in the day, since that's obviously where like Rugrats and all of those shows aired on.
Right. And they exactly, because Nickelodeon was sort of more in many ways mainstream, or got more eyes on stuff.
Yeah.
Cartoon Network almost, I feel like, started off like it was sort of like the
Yeah.
indie version of like, cartoons. And obviously they I feel like Cartoon Network chose projects that were really they picked a lot of kids out of art school, like who created shows. That's like Cartoon Network was kind of known for that too, was picking sort of like indie artists who created stuff.
Yeah. I miss those days.
I know, right?
But the next show you're in, another great role, you were in Cat Dog.
Oh yeah. Cat Dog was so awesome. I mean, talk about, you know, like working with geniuses again. I mean, I've you know, I think I'm trying to think if that was the first time I'd worked with Jim. Maybe not, but you know, Jim and Tom, like just, geniuses. And again, like people who were so much more experienced than I and so loving and sharing of their abilities. Like, you know, working with all the incredible talents that were for that like, were sort of like I would say they were like the group before my age range. So whether it was like Jim, Tom, Billy West, that group, Mark Hamill, all those guys,
Yeah.
they were like a warm blanket. You know what I mean? They always just brought you in and just were like, hey, kid. like we're gonna just make you feel so comfortable and let's just have fun together, and that was such a great show. I mean, I didn't, I think that particular the character that I played was only in a few seasons. So it was super, super fun.
Yeah. Well, the character I remember, her name was Lola.
Carisola. Lola Carisola. And she will be, studying this great creature. Half cat, half dog.
And
Yeah.
I just want to bring this up. She was probably one of my favorites because, if I remember correctly, she was like one of the only people in the entire show who were not mean to CatDog.
Yes, because she was like just fascinated by them. She wanted to study them. How could she be mean? She was just like, you guys are amazing, or you are amazing. Because I guess, well, they were one creature. So I guess you guy, one being that she was just blown away by.
Yeah. And then this is another pretty underrated role you were in. Remember being in the Crash Nebula pilot?
Oh, yeah. And I was so bummed because you know what? I was so psyched about, I just thought that show was going to be big and I wanted to work, with the creator so badly. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be, the lead in this show. And then, of course, it never went, never went. And I think, what was the character's name? Ani or something like
Yeah.
that? I think
Yep.
so. Ani. Yeah. And I just was so psyched. I was like, oh, yes, another lead in a show that's going to be huge. And it just didn't get picked up.
Yeah. And you got to work with James Arnold Taylor in that show or
Oh,
pilot, which was
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, James, again, another genius that I've been working with for, a bazillion years. And of course, James and I worked on, when I really got to know James was when we worked in Clone Wars together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, you were in, let's see. Ooh, you were in here. I actually got the thing. Let me get it up. You were in Shock Zone.
Oh yeah. And it's so funny because Chalk Zone, is like one of those awesome shows that I was never a lead on. So I wasn't in it that much. And it's like people always ask me about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like, when you work on shows where you're one of the leads, you end up being on it for years and years and years. And so there's so much of it you can remember about it. And Shock Zone was one of those shows that it's just like I got to go back and like watch it because I got to remember what I did, like what my character was about, because that's like one of those moments in time that I don't have a whole lot of memory of.
Yeah, yeah, you were Dr. Sanchez, Penny's
Doctor
mom.
said, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, Penny was voiced by the legendary Hynden Walsh.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then you were also a Billy and Mandy. You voiced Pandora, who was like this,
Pandora,
yeah,
yeah,
Dora the Explorer type character.
yeah, yeah.
So, do you have any memories of you were just in the one episode, I believe?
Yeah, that was like, I was like, again, it was like those one offs were, and it's so funny because people ask me a lot about Pandora. They ask me a lot about Chalk because I think those shows meant so much to people.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like, oh man, that was so long ago. And since that was just a one off, I was like, I have no memory of it.
Yeah.
It's
And
so crazy.
yeah, yeah. And you're also in Avatar: The Last Airbender. You're only in a few episodes, correct?
Yeah, Smellerby was like one of those characters that was like so important. Like what she represented was like so important and she meant a lot to people. But it was like she was part of that crew.
Yeah,
Um, and so I don't even remember. I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 episodes,
yeah.
maybe, something like that.
And
But,
yeah,
she's still like Avatar is so to this day, obviously, is so important to people. So like now that I started doing conventions, it's like I bring a Smeller bee picture and I get so many people who want an autograph because they love that character. And she was so cute, but she was so badass. But she was like, this little girl that everybody thought was a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that. Going back to, I mentioned Pandora, obviously. I love that these minor characters are getting so much fandom, from fans of the show. That's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah.
They
And
were the freedom fighters, right? In Avatar. She was
yeah.
part of that crew, the jet crew.
Yeah.
That was the leader of the crew. And so I think it was just like, an important group. And, you know, she was just, yeah, she was a character that people really remember.
Yeah. And this next show, this is another underrated one. Remember Jakers, The Adventures of Piggly
Of course, I remember Jakers. Now, that was one of those shows that, I was in every episode because the grandfather,
Yeah.
was telling his grandkids about the adventures. And
Yeah.
so every beginning or what end, sometimes the end of the show, these two twin boys, Sean and Seamus, and I played both Sean and Seamus,
Yeah.
would be, told these adventures. And so yeah, so that was when I got to, like, Miley was awesome. Uh who played Piggly right? And
Yeah.
and the cast was fantastic in that. I think Mel Brooks was in
Yeah.
that show.
And
I get to
yeah.
work with Mel Brooks. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
And Taylor Strong was in that too.
Tara, yeah, and I've been working with Tara forever and ever and ever on a billion shows. So, another incredible talent. And, you know, we just had so much fun because that was back, in the days when we all used to record together. And we would go to the studio and the whole cast would sit in a line and record together.
Yeah.
And so, that's how I got to work with Mel and, have that honor. And it was so much fun. It's like now it's so different, especially since COVID. Most of the time when you're working on shows, if you're working with a cast, you're still doing it at your own studio and, recording through Zoom or some other way.
Yeah. And also another legend that was in that show was Rusty Taylor, R.I.P.
Oh, Rusi, one of the most, literally one of the most lovely, kind, real people I've ever met in my life. Rusi Taylor, who, again, was so sharing of her talent, who was Minnie Mouse.
Yeah.
And Rusi, talk about being a warm blanket that just was willing to just wrap her love around you anytime you walked in the room. She just wanted to hug everybody, and she just made you feel like you were her child. And then Rusi and I went on to do all the Mickey Mouse stuff together because she was Minnie Mouse and I played her bird, Kukuloka. And
Yeah.
so for years before Rusi passed away, I got to know her really well and her husband, who was Mickey Mouse, Wayne, and they were just so lovely. Wayne and Rusi would go everywhere together. When Rusi had a session, Wayne would take her everywhere, would drive her everywhere. So they went nowhere without each other. It was so beautiful. And they were just, oh, such unbelievable people. That was such a loss when both of them passed away. They left such a legacy on the planet.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. And one other person I got to highlight who was in
Yes.
Jikers. I was trying to do the Irish accent. um, Jessica DiChico, the best. She was in one episode.
Well, Jessica's a really close friend of mine because not only do we have we worked together forever, but mostly, we're sisters on the Loud House.
Yeah.
So, but outside of that, Jessica's like a little sister to me because I'm older than her by a lot. So she's like one of those people that when she was coming up, I was always like, dude, you're going to be so successful. You're so talented. And she's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And I was like, of course, cut to her incredible career. um so her and I are really close friends, and actually like outside of voiceover, we have owned some properties together. So I know Jessica really well. She's an incredible person. She's such a hard worker. She's such an incredible talent, and I love her dearly. She's a sister to me. Sister, Loud House sister, and sister.
I love that.
Yeah.
Anyway, next show. This one you might not remember much because, again, I think you're only in one episode. Do you remember
Yeah.
Squirrel Boy?
Squirrel Boy. I remember doing Squirrel Boy, but again, one of those like one-offs that like I wouldn't be able to tell you even what I did. What did I play in
You
Squirrel Boy?
voiced like the mom of like the bully character who lived
Oh.
next door.
I always think it's funny when I get hired to play moms because even though I'm, a mom in real life, I always think it's funny because I still feel like I'm like 12 years old. So when I like play a mom, I'm like, oh my God, they're hiring me to play a mom. That's really funny. Okay.
So, and then around that same time, you also did probably one of my favorite roles. You did My Gym Partner's a Monkey.
Another incredible experience, of course, working with Tom again, because, Tom and I, did Handy Manny for years and years and years and years
Yeah.
together too. So, just getting to do a show where him and I just got to riff off of each other. It was yet another, gift to my life. Tom is also, you know, so incredibly talented, as everybody knows, because everyone knows Tom for SpongeBob. But it's like he couldn't, be more laid back and giving and funny. And he's also just like a brilliant human being. That guy can do anything, anything. Of course, everyone knows him for SpongeBob, and I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Tom can do anything. So we had such a blast. And I mean, that cast was incredible. Who are some other people? Cree's in that, and Gray's in that, and
I think Phil
Brian
Lamar.
Doyle, Phil Lamar, Brian Doyle Murray, Maurice LaMarche. I mean, just like that was such a incredible cast. We had so much fun, and I was so sad. Again, it was like one of those things. I think we only did 2 seasons, was it? Or 3?
I think it was
2.
3.
Oh, it's 3. And it was just so much fun. I was so bummed when it was over. It was weird. I remember there was a weird fact about that show when I was playing Adam. At that time, this had never happened to me, and it has never happened since. But I had some like weird thing. I discovered what it was, but there's this like little coffee cart thing down the street from my house, and I used to go there every morning to hang out with my neighbors. And I was drinking their coffee there, and I guess it had a lot of acid in it, and the coffee was like burning my throat. I had no idea. I just always thought like I had a sore throat at the time. So when I was playing that character, there was like this weird thing that was happening in my voice. It was the first time that I was contacted by the studio to say, something's going on with Nika's voice that's making like weird things happen when she does this character. You need to go, we send her to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And so I remember having to go to an ear, nose, and throat doctor because people are always asking, like, how do you get ready to do like characters and stuff? And I was like, I never get ready to do characters. Like, but it was one of those things that during that time, it was the first time I ever had an issue physically with my throat. And that was during that time when I was playing Adam.
Okay, so one of the questions I had to ask you: can you still do the Adam voice?
Yeah, let's see. My gym partner is a monkey, 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 monkey. Yeah, I mean, totally.
if they brought it back, I could totally play Adam. I was
That
like, come on, Jake, seriously? I mean,
oh
it was
my god,
basically like that. Yeah.
that was awesome. That
Thank
made my
you.
day.
Yay!
And also, there was an episode. I just thought this was a funny joke. With the if you remember, the principal was the frog, obviously.
Yes,
There was
Maurice.
yeah, Maurice. Yeah, there was an episode where Adam was in the principal's office, and there was a fourth wall break where the frog made a comment. He was like, "Your voice sounds like a ghost," something like that.
I mean, Maurice is just like incredible. That whole cast, man. I wish, obviously it's probably never going to be brought back because Cartoon Network went bye-bye. But man, oh man, that show was awesome.
I know, so sad.
Oh, and I also played the drama teacher who liked to drink on the side. So that was really fun.
And also I remember the finale, they finally revealed the parents, kind of, because when they came in, they were both in hazmat suits because turns out they were allergic to animals.
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah,
That's so funny. I did not remember that.
yeah. And also there was a running gag, another funny running gag. Obviously, the crush she had on the show, Cree Summer's character, the her hair always covered one of her eyes. And there was like this one episode where it showed them as little kids, and obviously that patch of hair was missing, so they just had an eye patch over her other eye.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah,
That's
that
so
was a
funny.
very fun show. And this next show was also very fun. You were, of course, in Maya and Miguel.
Me and Candy Milo.
Yeah.
Fun fact about that show was that I think originally I think they cast me as Candy, I mean as Maya, and Candy as Miguel, and then they switched us. I was like so happy because I was like, oh no, 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 I could play Miguel so much better than I could play Maya, and they switched us. And Candy was psyched too because she's like she felt like she was Maya and not Miguel, so it was like one of those crazy. And I think, wait, who directed that? Was Sue Blue? Did Sue Blue direct that?
I
I
think
think
that sounds
so.
right because she did Clifford the
Yeah.
Big Red Dog too, I think.
Yeah. Wait, was it? Wait, was it Sue who did that? I think so. I think so. Yeah. And Sue was awesome. Sue was such an incredible director because she was an actress too. She was a voiceover actress and then eventually became a director. And she was like one of those like top directors at the time. And I loved working with her.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, so, what was some of your favorite memories from working on Maya and Miguel?
Well, you know what I loved about Maya Miguel was that PBS cared so much about the kids, and it was such a different experience working with PBS because they really just wanted to make these incredible shows that were about family and learning about yourself and relationships, and it was to them never about money because you know, other shows that you do when you work for studios and stuff, it's always like the bottom line. Like you talk about, you know, why were there not enough, seasons of certain shows. It's like if they're not making enough money with like selling, toys or doing whatever, shows will usually stop. But PBS, sadly, and our I'm not going to get into politics right now, but you know who is,
Yeah.
stopped PBS or
So
trying
sad.
to or whatever. It's so sad. But there are plenty of kids who want to be able to watch cartoons who don't have money to pay, whose parents can't afford cable or can't afford streaming services or whatever. PBS was the way. And so PBS was about let's just make these shows that really matter, where the writing is incredible and every show is about some lesson you can learn in life or about, you know, kids being confident about themselves or about how to be in a relationship, or about, family dynamics, and that's what I loved about, my and Miguel was that it was just pure goodness without being cheesy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I love, of course, working. It was like the whole thing was like, Candy and I had so much fun working together. Candy, another incredible talent. And, so it's like when you're working with someone who's like the best, it's just like we would just like whip through those scripts. It was just like so easy because we just like felt the characters. We felt connected. We felt like we were, and I play, I didn't play a lot of girls back then, young girls. If I was playing a female character, I was usually older or a creature or something. I usually got hired to play boys because I grew up with all boys. So it was just like, I just felt like a boy.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask again, can you do the Miguel voice as well?
Maya, why are you always doing that? He was always like, Maya, Maya, and Miguel, and it was like, he was just like, I mean, he said that a lot. He was like, Maya, Maya, you know, that was pretty much him. I can't.
Oh my god. That is so funny. But yeah, that was a good show. And moving along, I got two other pilots you were in. I don't know if you remember these, but these were never picked up. You were in Dr. Freud's Funny Farm and Six Monsters. Do you remember doing those?
No, I have no recollection of doing those.
Okay,
The
yeah.
Dr. Freud's Funny Farm, I remember the name, but I don't remember actually what was the character. Remember? You have
Her name was Lulu.
Lulu. That's funny. That's my dog's name, or one of my four dogs.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have any recollection.
Now I gotta show you a picture real quick, okay? I'm gonna show you.
Okay. Was it a
And
cow? Was it a cow?
yeah, it
No.
was like the
Oh, it was a cow.
well,
Yes.
that wasn't the character you voiced
Oh,
in
that
the
wasn't. Oh, maybe I just remember the cow.
yeah, you voiced the little girl right there.
Oh, right, Lulu. Yes. Oh, good. See, that was one of those rare ones where I got to play a girl, just like Mike and Mike Lunog.
Yeah. So I bring that pilot up because that was from the same creator as Chalk Zone, Bill Burnett.
Oh, darn it. Another great show that didn't come to fruition.
Yep. And then after that, you were in Handy Manny.
Handy Manny, man. Just like that was a really great cast. Again, boy, I've gotten to work with like such incredible people. We had so much fun. That was one of those shows. Again, wasn't that what didn't I think Sue directed that one too? I think.
Maybe I need to
Was
look
it
into
Sue?
that.
I think it was. Um it was, and I played Stretch and Squeeze and the mayor of the town. And that was just another one of those things where we got to the whole cast got to record together, and including, and that was I think the first time that um everybody was a voiceover person on that show except for the lead, Manny,
Yeah.
who is an on-camera person. And so he was so nervous coming. And like it was just funny because he was used to doing, like, he had come from that 70s show, Wilmer.
Yeah.
And he was so nervous. So we all had to make him feel better, like, don't worry, you got this, man. And he would just take, so long to sort of try to like figure it out because he was so used to coming from the world of on camera that it made him really nervous to do voiceover, which is like a very different kind of dynamic, because you kind of have to imagine everything in your brain instead of being on a set.
Yeah.
And so it was just funny because, we could all the voiceover people could like zip through an episode in like 2 minutes, but Wilmer was like so nervous, he like would do his lines over and over again till, he was happy. He was the sweetest guy in the world. So easy to work with, such a lovely person. But eventually sometimes, when we wanted to get the episode done really quickly, they would record him separately so that we could just like get out of there in like, 20 minutes, the whole cast.
But
And then be like, we'll record Wilmer separately.
yeah, but that's awesome because, like you said, there were so many legendary people on that show. You had Carlos Elizwaki, you had Drew Bradley
Carlos.
Baker, Tom
Yep.
Kenny, and eventually Grey Delisle joined the cast too.
Yep. Exactly. Like it was just, more of the classics,
Yeah.
just incredible people. And, I love Carlos. And Carlos and I actually were found at the same time by the same manager. Remember when I said the one who got me into voiceover was also his manager? And I think we have both auditioned for the same on camera comedy show. And that's how she found us.
Oh, wow.
And then signed us. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And by the way, I just wanted to bring something up about Handy Manny. In every episode, Manny has to go to Kelly's shop and he has to pick up a piece of something in order to fix it. But in reality, I think he has that piece all along. I think he just wants, a little
had a crush on her.
Kelly.
Oh, he totally had a crush on her.
Yeah.
Totally. Unrequited love. He really, and didn't they at some point, like, didn't he eventually like tell her? I don't know. I feel like, or maybe that was just a story the cast, we would like laugh about it. And it was funny because the chick that played Kelly, she had never done animation before because she was like a commercial voiceover person.
Yeah.
And she got booked on that. And it was like really cute because like she was like, my God, I have this whole show, And she was a big commercial voiceover actress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. What kind of repair shop never has the part you need, and you have to go to Ace Hardware every time you need to get a part?
Yeah, exactly. The kind of shop where you're in love with the person you're going to fix their stuff for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now, I think it's time for the big one. You were, of course, in Star Wars.
Yes.
You voiced, well, just tell everyone who you voiced.
Well, I mean, what everyone knows me for, I mean, I voiced a lot of characters, but my main person that everybody knows me for is Asajj Ventress. And so she became sort of like this very well-liked villain. Shall we call her villain? We'll call her villain, even though she sort of is, I guess some people would call her an anti-hero, because in some ways she's sort of moved into the world of, no, never hero, but, or maybe an anti-villain. One or the other. She doesn't fit into any kind of box, any villain box or any hero box. Yes.
And how did it feel getting casted in, a franchise as big as Star Wars, getting to play a villain as popular as Asajj?
It's like winning the lottery. Let's just put it that way. That's how it feels. It feels like, well, I think when I was first auditioning for the character, they didn't tell me it was for Star Wars. They never tell you these things. When it's like a big franchise, they don't tell you. They want you to just audition and just go purely in for this character, right? Without knowing how big whatever it is you're auditioning for. And so, I didn't know at first. Then once I found out, I had like, I think probably, I don't even remember how many auditions I had for that, but I had a lot. I think something like 4 or something callbacks, when I finally got it. And I think maybe in the like 3rd round or something is when they told me it was for Star Wars, and I was like, ga, 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 ga. I mean, and now this many years later, it's like, how do I feel? I feel like I've been gifted this thing that's like so unbelievable. I could even, I mean, the love that Star Wars gets is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. It's bigger than like, it's so huge. It's literally like Star Wars is some people's, it's like their life.
Yeah.
Like they're everything. They're
Exactly.
everything.
Yeah.
And since I started, doing conventions, about a year and a half ago, and I'm starting to get to know people that are in the fan world of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I knew it before, but and now I really know it. What's so beautiful about it is not only is it like multi-generational, like for families and the connection that it brings families together, that's so beautiful. It's like if you were ever like, it's like goes so deep nerd. It's like it's like it's it's like whole social groups. Like people, they gear their life around Star Wars. Like so I meet people that are like in groups of like, it's like I'm part of the 150th, it's like people have battalions of social groups, and they have their weekends like where they all get together, and it's all about being dressing up in, cosplaying or going to conventions. I mean, it's so beautiful
Mhm.
because it's a place where people who maybe never felt like they were a part of something have now found that they're a part of this thing. And it like just thinking about it now gives me like goosebumps because it's all love. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's so beautiful. And I get to be a part of that. I get to be like, meet people who are just like you helped me through like a really hard time in my life, or you made me feel like I was a part of something, or like whenever I'm really down, I just like or whenever I'm not feeling like great about myself, it's just like I watch your character and I feel like I'm a badass,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I love what you just said there, because obviously, I felt the same way when I first saw Jessica's performance as the Flame Princess in Adventure Time.
Oh, I love that. It just made you feel like this is like you connected it in like it connected to your soul, right?
Exactly. And you were in Adventure Time as well, right?
I like if whatever I was in Adventure Time, was I like some small character, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if you had any like full
Yeah,
sentences.
like I can't, like I remember, like I was I a creature or something?
Yeah, you were grid faced princess.
Whatever I was, it was like, yeah, I'll throw Nika a bone, here you go, honey. Have something tiny.
All right, and the next show, this is another big one you were in. You were, of course, in Fanboy and Chum Chum.
Yes, I was Chum Chum, and that was so much fun. Chum Chum, you know, that show is like either people are obsessed with it or they found it to be the most annoying thing ever. And I can totally understand both perspectives because it was really like out of the mind of like a stoner teenager. You know what I mean? Like the creator is so funny. He's like such a, I mean, of course, obviously now Eric is a man, but it really came out of, I feel like his like crazy teenage brain, where it was just like, you know, boys hanging around, just like, being stupid,
Yeah.
and I just loved that show. And, it was really interesting because, there were some people on it who are, just incredibly historic voiceover people like Jeff Bennett,
Yeah.
who's another one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. He played a billion characters in it. And like working with him was a gift. Like he is so incredibly talented. And then there were people on it who were like who had never done voiceover before, like my partner in crime, Fanboy, who is an incredible actor. He's an on-camera actor and a writer. He was like a writer and an actor on this, show Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And so he was had never done voiceover before. And so to do voiceover with somebody who is so talented, who came from like an acting background and a writing background, like he just had so much fun playing Fanboy because it was just like this new fun thing for him to do. And we had so much fun. And then, there was like Josh Duhamel, who's an on-camera actor, and oh my gosh, it was like a lot of on-camera actors who were in it. Seth Green, right?
Yeah.
Who was awesome.
Yeah.
Seth Green, I mean, it was like, all these really fun on-camera people who, were not, well, Seth had done, had his own show that was voiceover, right?
Yeah.
Whatever, Robot Chicken.
Yeah, what about Chicken? He was in Family Guy, obviously.
Yeah, so he was a big, obviously, but it was like people know him for on camera, but he's just another genius dude. So to work with, it was a different vibe, and it was just so much fun. It was like going in, and just being a freak. It was great.
And do you know why they switched the voice actress of Chum Chum from Nancy Cartwright to you?
I don't know exactly why, she just did the pilot. I think, I mean, ultimately, I think if I remember correctly, it was obviously not her talent. It was just that I think she sounded too much like, Bart. And so I think they didn't want to have another lead character that sounded too much like another famous lead character. And I think that was pretty much the only reason they wanted to go in a different direction that didn't sound like any other character.
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
another show you did around that time, which also has kind of a mixed reception, you were in Sanjay and Craig.
Talk about, party boys that created a show. I think the creator had originally been, he was like a skater dude,
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm holding my phone and it's just funny because anyway, the creator was an artist. He would do like art for like skateboards and stuff. And so you can sort of like see that in his artwork. And he was just so great. That was a completely different vibe because he was really coming from this like artist aesthetic. It was really about the art and just being like it was funny going from Fanboy and Chum to that because in a way it was again coming from the mind of like like a party boy. You know what I mean? Where it was just like anything. It was like boy, like a lot of fart humor and like like teenage boy humor. And I love teenage boy humor because I grew up with three brothers and I always have connected to teenage boys, and so I loved it. But what I loved about it was that I actually got to play a girl, and I got to play his love interest, Belle Pepper, and so that was really fun.
Yeah, with some chicken wings.
Chicken wings. So yeah, that was a great show. I always tell people are like, what's your favorite character? What, and I'm like, that's like picking your favorite child, it's impossible. But I like to say that, everything I've ever done has been its own beautiful experience, and therefore it's like really hard for me to be able to, pick one that's my favorite.
And a fun fact about Sanjay and Craig, did you know the character designer of that show also did the designs for Bob's Burgers?
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
And then the next show you were in, another very popular one, you were in Sonic Boom.
Oh, okay. So, I said I can never pick my favorite character, but I can definitely say this that Styx is one of my favorite characters. And Styx is one of those characters that had never existed before. So I got to create her. And the director, Jack Fletcher, who also directed me in My Gym Partner is a Monkey, he's an incredible director, comes from a real actors director kind of place.
Yeah.
Was like, okay, what would you do with this character, Nika? Go. And they kind of had a picture of her. Of course, she doesn't sound like she looks, but they sort of described her a bit, and I was like, I got an idea, and I just like they let me create her, and again, she's one of those characters that people either love and are obsessed with, or they found her to be incredibly annoying, and I just think that's so funny. I love that because she was annoying, she was paranoid, she was.
She's a conspiracy theorist, and she likes to wear tinfoil on her head, and she lives in a hole.
I mean, so, like she was just so much fun. And she is definitely in my top 5 of all the characters I've ever played. And I desperately wish that they would bring her back for like a Sonic movie or anything. Like, especially, she's so fitting for these times of craziness in the world, like conspiracy theorist. And, like, I would love to revive her.
Nobody else could play her, by the way, Sega. So if you see this, no one else, just me.
Me and Jim Carrey going to town. That would be fun.
Yes, we need to do that. Hopefully, we can make that happen someday.
That would be a dream. You have to start something online where you go, Sega, we need a Styx movie, or her and Jim Carrey going to town.
Exactly. Yes. Let's do it.
Right? Let's do it. Start a, what do you call it? An online
petition.
Right, petition.
Yeah, on change.org.
Yeah, change.org. Yeah.
So now I saved the biggest one for last, and I'm of course talking about
Luna. My Luna girl. Luna. Hey, what's up, dudes? Yeah, rock on. Woo-hoo!
Yeah. Luna is pure love and rock and roll. And, Luna is the character that I guess have voiced the longest. I mean, obviously, like Ventress and stuff has been around and she came back. But as far as a show, Loud House is the longest running show that I've ever done. Where I'm a, you know, consistent character in that show. And so she's part of my heart. I love Luna because she's just always positive, like she's just such a positive person. And she is like, music will fix everything.
You know what I mean, man? Rock and roll will fix your heart. Rock and roll will fix your life. All you gotta do is rock. Yeah.
And then, of course, she was, I think, the first online character that, fell in love with her own, she was a girl who loved a girl, Sam.
Yeah.
And that was big news in the animation world,
Yeah.
But I love how Loud House didn't make a big deal of it, it was just who she is, and she, love is love, baby.
Yeah. And that was of course Allison Stoner who voiced Sam. Did you get to work with Allison Stoner?
Oh yeah, I love Allison. Actually, it's really funny. I was driving in my car yesterday. I was thinking about Allison, and I was like, you know what? I need to call Allison up, and I think, wouldn't this be really fun? Like, I think Allison and I should do an album of Luna and Sam, a Luna and Sam album. What do you think? You think people be into it?
Yeah, that sounds like a very fun idea.
Doesn't that sound like a fun idea? I was like, we could do an album of duets.
Yeah. Also, here, let me show you something. I wonder whose signature that is right here.
Oh, looky there. That's my signature. Wow. Look at that.
Woohoo! When am I going to see you next?
Well, so I don't know. When is your next appearance? Like, where are you planning on coming?
Well, I don't know. The only one I know, I think for sure so far. Wait, no, there's another one I have in the summer sometime, but I'm forgetting where that is. But the next one is, I mean, I don't know yet if I'm going anywhere in February, but March I'm going to MegaCon.
MegaCon?
MegaCon's in Florida. in Orlando.
Orlando, Florida. Okay. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I'll come to that one.
Yeah. I think it's like the biggest one in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
Bigger than San Diego?
Well, San Diego though is like more about like I think this one's like more like Comic Con. I feel like in San Diego isn't always about like signing autographs, right? It's more about like panels and performances and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Less signing. I think this is like the biggest signing one, MegaCon.
Yeah.
Like the biggest, like the most. They bring the most people who like sign stuff. So if you're like a collector of that stuff, I think I just know I know it's massive. I know it's like it's huge.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I real quick, I wanted to share the story. So this was the first time I met Nika. It was back at Kansas City Comic Con. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember. But it was during my birthday. Was having kind of a rough birthday, and
Hmm.
Nika cheered me the hell up. Like she gave me a big hug, and she was just the kindest person I have ever met going to these conventions because like being kind of an introvert, kind of anxious of being around large crowds. Like
Yeah.
she was just so kind to me. She even, I told her, obviously Jessica DiChico was one of my biggest inspirations. She was like, hold on a minute. She called her and let me talk to her. That was one of the nicest things anyone's ever done to me. And I truly appreciate your kindness. And I just wanted to let everyone know out there that the world would be a much better place if there was more people like you out there.
Oh, Gabe, that's so sweet. That really means a lot to me. And I mean, like, I think I didn't do conventions my whole career because I always felt weird about, like, signing autographs, taking money, doing things like that. Like, it just felt weird to me until my friends were like, but that's what people collect, like you collect shoes and watches, or no, I don't collect watches, jewelry, hats. It's like this is like what brings people like happiness, is like this is like collecting, right? This is the world. And I was like, okay. So I started doing conventions, and I thought, you know what, besides collecting, this is about like spreading love, because I feel like sowing gratitude when I go there and everybody's like, it means so much to me what you do. I can't help but want to give back the love. You know what I mean? Like it just makes sense to me. And I love at conventions that everybody is just so wonderful and accepting of each other. And it's like this bubble that you can forget the world outside and you can just be yourself. So no matter you know, what you're going through or who you are or what you're into or if you're autistic or if anything, everybody's accepted. And I love that. And so now I'm addicted.
I love that.
now now I'm like this is so to me it just makes sense. Like you know I don't see any other way but spreading love in the world.
Before we wrap it up, any final thoughts of being on the Loud House? Obviously your biggest show you've ever done, such an amazing cast, like Jessica, obviously, great Elia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my sisters. When it finally comes to an end, I hope it never does, but when it finally does, I'm going to be so sad cuz I'm just like it's like we've done this show together, sisters, for so long, and uh just thinking about it makes me sad. So hopefully it will never end. But if it does, I mean there's so many weird things going on with studios and stuff now,
Yeah.
and Nickelodeon is getting sold. If it wasn't it sold already, or maybe it like Skydance, I don't know. There's all kinds of like weird stuff going on in the background.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what they're planning on doing with Loud House. And I'm just so in gratitude that I've gotten to be part of this incredible show. Like I just think it's such an amazing show, and um it's so fun without being like too kiddie. I think it's smart. I think it has edge in ways that other shows don't. I think it's real, but it's fun and obviously animated beautifully. I just think it's a perfect show. you know?
Yeah, same here. And I also wanted to ask, do you have any final thoughts, for all the fans out there watching this?
Yeah, it's everything I keep saying. I had this love theme. My theme is this: is like, don't worry about all the negative stuff out in the world. You just keep being you and just keep spreading the love. I mean, that's what art is supposed to do. And even when the world is crazy and there's all this like weird political stuff going on and stuff, we can just ignore all of that. We can just say how you are to the people that you come in contact with on a daily basis is what's most important. And that, like, this kind of art and this kind of thing can bring us all together, even if everything else in the world is pulling us apart. Like I want to be, I feel so in gratitude that, like, all I want to do is give back where I can, because I feel like I got so lucky that, like, what I do, I'm so glad that it brings you guys happiness, because I feel like I don't do enough in the world, and I'm someone who kind of hides under a rock. So, you know, like, I feel like the only way that I can give back is like person to person in my daily life, and then giving back by, doing these silly things that at least can bring you happiness when maybe you're not feeling that way. So that is what I'm spreading. I'm spreading lovely fairy dust all over all of you out in the world. And Gabe, thank you for being such a good person and for including me in your podcast and your life. And I'm just sending you love. So when you have another difficult day or anything, just think of this. All right.
All right, thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.